What is going to change with the nation's energy policy after this Gulf oil spill? Well, Kevin Book is the energy expert and managing director at Clearview Energy Partners, a Washington-based consultancy. And Kevin, good to have you with us. And, you know, as we were watching President Obama take off in Air Force One, taking responsibility as well for what has happened in the Gulf, you note that this is a turning point for energy policy. You know, other than this moratorium, this extension of this moratorium on offshore drilling, how's this going to change?
Yeah, thanks, Betty, for having me. The history here isn't really that old. For about 2 decades now, really since 1995, the federal government has been moving towards incentives to drill in the ultra-deep water. This was essentially the culmination 2 months ago of technological advances, of policy changes, and also of political sentiment shifting to the point where President Obama himself had essentially put on the issue as one of his own. At this point, when you say you're taking responsibility, what you're really saying is this is not going to happen again on my watch. Administratively, Betty, the risks of the moratorium being extended are hard to gauge, but they're certainly real. What you should watch from an investment perspective is really the question of what could happen in Congress. The issue of whether or not there's a legislative stampede to try and to enshrine in law a more permanent change or a variable cost change. There's a lot still that can go wrong. We're still in the very first chapter of this.
So you're saying that because essentially what Congress could do is to ban this permanently, which could be how damaging to the industry?
Well, they're not going to ban all drilling permanently. That's very unlikely given the size of revenues and the relative safety of most of the drilling. But what they could potentially do is impose higher variable costs, new fees, different royalties. They can look at barring certain areas which are very desirable right now, or a contingent moratorium, which is one of the things that's being talked about in the context of a climate bill. Betty, what this would do, it would essentially say you can't get back into the ultra-deep water until there has been an accepted certification of safety. That's the sort of thing that could happen. It's a much different risk because those laws don't go away easily.
No, they don't. And I can imagine there's higher costs with that, too. Kevin, we'll have to leave it there, but thanks so much for joining us.